And I called him back and he said, I can't believe that I went to Stanford and I owe them $200,000 in student loans and they miseducated me.
Margaret, how did you find carnivore?
Um, it I started with keto. And yet there was some experience that I had as a young woman that also played a part in it. But let me say this: my grandmother was diabetic, and my grandmother, hails from an indigenous tribe called the Tarumara that are runners in the Sierras of Chihuahua. They run mega running, and they're known for being very, very athletic. My people are our people, as athletic as they are, when they move into an urban setting, into a city, they become morbidly obese and diabetic. And my aunt Alice, her sister, my great aunt Alice, was one of the first people to have bariatric surgery back in her time. And, Grandma was born in 1909, and I think maybe Alice was born in 1910 or 11 or something like that. She was born right after her. And so she was morbidly obese and had the first bariatric surgery. And I was very, very close to my grandmother. And Grandma said to me early on, she says, "You will never be able to eat more than one slice of bread per day. That's just the way it is because we are diabetic in our family. And if you eat bread, you will become diabetic and you will be sick like I am. So you have to stay away from bread." And that was as a child, she told me this. So I always had that in my head. I tried a diet called the Mayo Clinic diet back as a teenager. And this Mayo Clinic diet was a diet that was basically hard boiled eggs, grapefruit, and protein, and some vegetables. And it worked for me, but as a teenager, you don't have a lot of discipline. I didn't. I was a gymnast, I exercised a lot. And as I uh, got older, I tried the Mayo Clinic diet again, and I lost like 55 pounds, which for me was a good amount. And I was very happy with it. And then I got married after that, and it wasn't a marriage that was conducive to weight loss. Let me just say that. It just didn't work. And so I ended up gaining weight little by little. I became a swim instructor at one point, so I was still physically active. But I got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was getting ready for knee surgery, and my knees were giving out. And fortunately, and I should say this is a long journey. I've tried every other diet, by the way: Diet Center, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Fit or Fat, Zone Diet, carb. I tried them all. I even did this one horrific one called Shick Shock treatment, where they shock you while you eat horrible food. Uh, HCG shots, where they inject you with pregnant hormones or something. I did everything because my weight was just out of control and I couldn't stand it. And so I got pretty big and I was getting ready for knee surgery. And fortunately, I got a tooth infection and needed a root canal. And it was the day before my knee surgery. And the doctor canceled it. You can't have any kind of infection in your body when you're getting ready for knee surgery. So it got canceled. This is before the pandemic. It was like, I want to say 2019. And so it was canceled. And I just the very next week, within days, I saw a movie called The Magic Pill with Tim Noakes. And I looked at that and I said, I reminded myself of the Mayo Clinic diet. And now I had even argued with a nutritionist back then because I simplified that diet for myself and was basically just eating meat. And I didn't realize that was a carnivore diet. But basically, when I did that, I was losing weight and I was getting healthy and had the misfortune of getting the advice of a nutritionist who told me that I was going to kill myself because I wasn't eating carbohydrates. And I thought, well, okay, so I'm doing this wrong. I don't know. So I went back to eating them. That's why I went back to it. In any case, I saw this movie, and both my husband and I were becoming rather portulent. We're getting bigger and bigger, and we live 25 steps up off the sidewalk. So coming home every day and having to climb those stairs is just a lot. And I looked at that movie and I asked him to look at it with me. And he said, if you're going to do this, I'll do this with you. And so we both lost 70 pounds. We went on the keto diet and we both lost 70 pounds. And I was really, really grateful. And we came back. He had a speck of cancer in his lung at that time. They found it. And, when people go through these things saying, I'm going to do this the way I want to do this, you don't have a say in it. And I said, well, okay, I'll keep my eyes on my own plate. I had done, oh, let me step back again. I had done another program called Overeaters Anonymous. And it's based on the very same principles as Alcoholics Anonymous. But the abstinence is about sugar and flour. And so I had learned a lot of things by doing that particular program. And I want to say it really benefited me. And I want to say, too, that it primed me and basically got me ready for the keto diet. So when the keto diet came about and I decided to embrace that and do that, there were a lot of things in the Overeaters program that allowed me to calm my addictions or sort of deal with my addictions. I learned some very, very important things that allowed me to put it into perspective. For one, children of alcoholics, the sons tend to have a 50% higher chance of becoming an alcoholic, the males do, and the females have a 50% higher chance of being a compulsive overeater and with an addiction to carbs because they are related. Okay. And so understanding that allowed me to deal with the carbohydrate addiction using the same principles. And I had to practice the same principles when it came to dealing with my husband, who decided he was no longer going to do keto, even though he was fighting cancer. When I know that keto is a diet that helps address the issue of the sugar, which cancer eats. I mean, everything that Dr. Savory talks about in, trying to, have a diet that is not good for cancer. I mean, that doesn't. Anyway, he decided he was going to do it his way, and that was the way he was going to do it. And he's in remission now. So, however he did it, it worked for him. Of course, I was very worried for him and about him. And he's not the only one. I've had quite a number of friends that have been battling cancer and have been dealing with that. And my sister currently is dealing with cancer. She died twice last year, and they brought her back. They've given her palliative care, and I'm concerned with her. But there isn't anything you as another you can't make another person change their mind. You can't. You can, as I say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so I've failed terribly in terms of trying to get them to try it, and so she's not. And um, and so that is sort of the way it is. And the OA part of the program that I learned sort of helped me. I want to say let go of that, and not. I want to say take responsibility for that. Excuse me. So it's been a sad state of affairs in terms of the number of people that I've lost to cancer who have decided to go on this journey, including my mother, who had a stroke and insisted on having pasta primavera and margarine, and I couldn't convince her of anything other than that. She was insistent that I was eating meat, and it was just terrible, and it was going to kill me. And my brother is a trauma surgeon and had graduated out of Stanford, and he and I argued, I want to say 20 years, 30 years, we had this argument about margarine and butter, and his wife and him were doing vegan and vegetarian things, and he's a doctor, he's a trauma surgeon. So we argued about this consistently. My mother passed away, and then this movie, The Magic Pill, came on, and I convinced my brother to watch it. He watched it, and I called him back, and he said, I can't believe that I went to Stanford and I owe them $200,000 in student loans, and they miseducated me. I said, oh, you got it. You got it. Okay, bro, I love you, but what you're eating is killing you, and it's been killing me. And I didn't still at that point, even though I had seen the magic pill, it wasn't until I saw the magic pill that my brain said protein, fat, and carbohydrate, because the vegans and the vegetarians have a tendency to confuse you with this idea that you're getting enough protein with this vegetarian diet. And I never felt satiated or happy. I didn't like soy or cauliflower, for that matter, or any of those things. And I knew that they made me fat because I always immediately saw the effects of it. I immediately gained weight.
And you feel the effects of it as well, right?
Yeah, I do. And I've always had allergies since keto and now carnivore. I am no longer having the allergy attacks I had. My skin has cleared up. I mean, I'm 72, so yeah, we all age and we all have wrinkles, mind you, but my skin is so much better now that I have been eating this way. And so my brother has joined me, his kids have joined me, not my sister. I've had a few friends die. I've had a few friends succumb to Alzheimer's. Because when you get 72, your friends are up there too. We're all kind of dying off. So there is one thing that I really, really want to talk about, though, today. My husband is now in remission. He's lost 70 pounds. We're both on losing end, and we're both doing carnivore now. He is a retired landscape architect who taught at UCLA. He was teaching landscape architecture there. And he became familiar with the Savory Institute. I don't know if you've heard of this, the Savory Institute. So the Savory Institute was started in, I think, Rhodesia in Africa by a gentleman who is using cattle ranching as a method of sequestering the carbon back into the soil and regenerating the land, because so many vegans and vegetarians have this idea that the cows are farting and they're destroying the ozone layer, and mind you, and this was my husband's field, mind you, and there's no. I want to say there's a short memory regarding the buffalo that roamed here, that was all over the Americas. You know, we had hundreds of thousands of buffalo, and the land was fertile and regenerative. We now are in a state where 75% of the globe, of the world, has now become desertified. And we need to regenerate. It's not just a question of sustainability. Our short memory span, we forget that there was a thing called the Dust Bowl. And the Dust Bowl was caused by the agricultural practices, not ranching, not cattle, but it had to do with the agricultural practices of wheat and potatoes and corn and all those other things. You have up here in California, you have the Sacramento Delta, where two rivers came together, the Sacramento and I think it was the Columbia River, and it was hundreds of thousands of acres of estuary that had been destroyed for the purpose of farming wheat, alfalfa, uh, uh, corn. They call it the breadbasket of America because of the amount of produce that's grown in the Central Valley. But if you understand that you have displaced the amount of wildlife, the sandhill cranes and the other wildlife that live there, and you talk about being a vegan and caring about animal life, I'm living here in Los Angeles in Echo Park. There's an edible children's garden directly across the street from me. And PETA has their headquarters here because they don't eat any animals. You can get Impossible burgers at the cafes around here, including vegan and vegetarian and juice bars and everything. This is the community where it is central to all of that, because there's a concern about the animal welfare and animal cruelty. And I get it, because of the way the ranching practices of cows in cement lot feedlots. But if we really do care about the regeneration of the planet, then we really have to embrace the idea of cattle ranching, because they're using it as a way of sequestering and regaining the soil that has been desertified by these farming practices. And that is the one thing I really just wanted to sort of touch upon. He's a very shy person. He won't come on here and talk about it, but I've learned a lot from him because of that. We've done art exhibits that are, love letters to the earth, and it's about it's about spreading that knowledge. And I believe that the knowledge that the carnivore community has is science-based. and has a good footing in knowledge. And I think that for this type of community where it's very difficult and you have a lot of vegetarians and vegans, I think that if the truth does come out, which is what I think you're doing and what other YouTubers are doing by informing other people and embracing the science around it, I think that people will turn that around. And it's a very proactive community here. I think that that's the positive part of it. I agree that we have to be more humane about the way we raise the animals we eat, that we can't just be shooting them up with antibiotics and hormones. But the same is said for the produce that's grown because they're using a lot of chemical fertilizers and chemical insecticides, Roundup, and it is contaminating not just the land but the ocean and the plastic waste islands that are in the ocean. So that's hard. That's hard for people to understand the differences between that because everybody talks about the cows farting to such an extent that it's like they've totally lost consciousness about all these other practices that have really done a lot of damage. You know, if they're burning down the Indonesian forest to grow palm oil, there is really a problem with that.
Agreed. Yeah, it's almost it's like things get repeated so many times. It's like people just catch the little catchphrase and they repeat it over and over again, and then they feel like they're working towards a cause. But then if you're actually to ask someone, okay, well, what does this actually mean? Or how are we going to, how are we actually going to solve this problem? They've got no answers.
No, they
you
don't.
know
They
mm.
don't. But like I said, the Sacramento Delta, which was hundreds of thousands of acres of estuary that was habitat for wildlife, for all these wonderful animals and birds, and it's down to a tenth of what it was. So we do need to look at the idea of regenerating that land. You know, one of the things Mark Twain used to say was that water is for fighting and whiskey is for drinking. And all the fights in California that have been related to, providing drinkable water for the citizens in not just Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, has been at odds with the farmers in the Central Valley who are they're growing things like alfalfa, and the citizens pay for it, but then they're turning around and selling it to China for less than what the citizens have to pay for it. And they're growing a lot of almonds, the almond industry, but they take a lot of water. They need a lot of water, and it's not the type of environment that naturally has that kind of water. So we're using our water supply to water all of this produce, selling it off at a place that pays us less money than the citizens pay to even harvest and preserve that water, and then getting sick off of it. We're getting
Yeah,
sick off
and
of it.
no one stops and thinks, what are we actually doing here?
Sure.
Everyone is too concerned with the short term, and the sloganeering and feeling good about themselves and having having a cause. Oh, hello.
Yes. If I don't hold her, she'll probably start barking at someone. That's why I
Yeah,
got her. Yes.
no
Yes,
worries.
I know how
Um,
cute you are.
so at this stage, like how are you eating during the day?
Sometimes I eat twice a day, sometimes I eat once a day. Today I had coffee with butter and cream, and I haven't eaten yet. It's 2:15 my time. I have a little piece of meat in there that was left over from yesterday. I think one of the best things that happened to me with keto is I lost my appetite. Or it just takes a lot less for me to satiate. I'll eat a little something and I'm done. Part of it is, I guess, at my age, I don't need that much. I don't have a lot of cravings at all. I, I eat and then I'm done. And, I say, well, maybe I can make it through the night. I've eaten, well, that's all I've had today is coffee with butter and cream. And I have some steaks in there. I have hamburger. I've learned how to thaw things out pretty quickly, so I eat whatever I want well, let me look in the freezer. What do I have? But the other thing is a month ago on November 13th, I had knee replacement. I finally did get the replacement. And I did want to talk about that briefly because I'm healing very quickly. I used the walker maybe, I want to say 2 days, and was basically walking that night, taking care of myself and going to the bathroom on my own. I have a cane, which I don't even use in the house. This is the knee right here, and I am now able to bend it and use it. And they usually say it takes 3 months, and I'm healing really quick. And I think that the reason I'm healing as quickly as I am is the diet, is the carnivore diet. And I'm just healing really good. I've had a number of things that were bad with me before, like bleeding gums. I don't have any bleeding gums. My skin is cleared up. My A1C is down. I had one of the reasons I think I needed the knee surgery is because a doctor had put me on statins and I went along with it. And then little by little, I couldn't make it up the stairs. I could hardly stand up out of a chair. And that's why I had decided to do the statins. And then I had talked to another friend who had been really damaged by the statins. And I said, maybe that's what's happening to me too. And so I gave them up, and the doctor was trying to get me back on them. He says, well, I think you need to take statins. Your LDL is really high. And I said, well, why don't you just give me rat poison while you're at it? And he said, she's allergic to statins. And he put it down on my, and he left me alone. Won't bother me with it. I think in 2009, I had a calcium scan of my heart. There was zero plaque in there. There was nothing there. And when I went back this time, my A1C, and I had fallen off keto for a little bit, my A1C went back up, and the doctor looked at me and she says, you're diabetic. And that was May 23rd, 2023, this year. And I came home and I said, that's it. I am not going to be diabetic. And I hadn't been able to get back on keto. I kept trying and somehow I just couldn't get back on keto. And I said, that's it. I'm doing carnivore. And carnivore is easier than keto. It's easier to do than keto because there's something about keto when I'm eating, my 20 grams of carbohydrates that trigger me. And then I'm, trying to make keto tortillas and keto pasta and keto this and keto that. And you know what? I can't do it. I can't do it. I have to just stick to what I know. I know that if I eat meat, I become satiated. I don't obsess over cravings. I don't have things that make me fat or make me fall off. So that's why I stick to the carnivore. It's kind of like, and this goes back to the OA stuff, right? This is kind of like the alcoholic who says, well, I'm just going to have one beer. Well, you can't have one beer. You can't have one potato chip. If you think you can and you do, okay, fine. But I don't, most of us can't do it. We cannot have that one potato chip. We cannot have that one piece of bread. You know, it has to be something that will nourish me and take care of me, and allow me to heal and live the life I want to live. And vegetables and fruit. I mean, I love a lot of that stuff, you know, mangoes and what have you. Every now and then I get a craving for like, I don't know, cucumber with lemon. Because sometimes you want something that sort of cleanses your palate a little bit. But I'm basically sticking to the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and the cream. I will eat cream and cheese. So that's the way I eat. That's it.
Nice. So you talked about friends that have suffered dementia and things like that.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about your your future?
Mental.
I mean, you look very switched on, very fit, very happy, and I mean, I think looking at your knee there as you're bending your knee, that looks amazing.
Doesn't hurt.
Mm,
They gave me oxycodone. I refused to take it.
mm.
I don't want that. I did take the codeine. It is a painful procedure. I'm looking at my hair. It's hard to tell what side of my head I'm touching. But I, you know, have seen a lot of my friends become heavier.
Mm,
I just had a friend. He lost his wife. She went through 5 years of Alzheimer's. I have neighbors who are having the shakes and the palsy, and I, I, I try to be gentle with people. I have a number of friends, at least three, who have overcome their rosacea
mm,
in their skin. My husband had a skin thing around his ankles and his legs, and after he did keto, then one day we were looking at his legs. Oh, those things are gone on your legs. You know, these little crusty things that he had around his ankles, they're all gone, all of it. No more tags. Um, I have had a number of friends who have started losing weight, and I call them up and I see how they're doing. I said, look, I've done this. It worked for me. And if you're interested in it, I'll help you. Just call me up and I'll help you. And they have, and I send them to Ken Berry, Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee. I send them to you. In fact, I think I sent somebody to you, said I was going to be doing this today. They said they were going to be listening. Um, and so I've helped a number of people. I don't have a channel for that purpose, but I believe in this very, very strongly. And I have glaucoma. So I went to see my ophthalmologist, and at this point, it's halted. The disease is halted, and this is the only regular medication that I take twice a day, drops in the morning and drops in the evening. And you know, I was talking to them about seed oils because what I learned about seed oils causing macular degeneration and glaucoma, and it being introduced in 1865, and that's when it became more of an issue because it was introduced into the food chain. So my brother, who, like I said, he went to Stanford and he's a doctor, trusts my information now. He actually listens to me and we have conversations about it. And he's no longer dismissive about, well, I'm the doctor. I know these things and I went to school and I studied it. And I'm like, well, you studied it, but you really didn't study nutrition now, did you? Oh no, well, we had 40 hours of it or something. I don't know what they have. But there are a lot of really good doctors who actually have lectures and podcasts that talk about the real science behind how this is working and the metabolic health that we need to recover. We're not doing it yet, but I think that it's going to start turning. I hope it does anyway. If you're not healthy, you do lose your clarity, your sense of humor, your sense of purpose. You're always tired. Things fall apart. I don't know. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good and I feel pretty strong. And I feel like the reason I'm here is to sort of share that with my family and friends that are willing to listen and see if I can't help make a difference. This year, I lost a dear friend. She was a politician, actually. Her name was Gloria Molina. She was county supervisor here in Los Angeles. And I got her to try the keto for a little bit. She lost 20 pounds and she was all happy. We were going to the swimming pool. We were exercising together. And then she decided to travel. And during her travels, she decided she couldn't do keto. It was too hard. And so she gave it up. And she ended up passing from cancer. Now, I don't know that the keto would have saved her, but I do think it would have it would have given her more of a chance to stick around a little more, if I, but I didn't know she had cancer and she wasn't sharing that with me. And that's the kind of thing that's really hard. People don't, run into strangers. Hey, hi, I have cancer. They don't talk about it, and yet we all seem to be faced with these challenges at this age where we need to start sharing this information because the doctors aren't sharing it. They're like, well, this is the way I learned. This is the nutrition I learned. I'm going to put you on statins and I'm going to make you eat more broccoli and I'm going to, lower your meat intake. And, that's the way people have traditionally been taught. So that's what they believe. I don't believe that. Um, okay, so my genetics say that we came over the Bering Strait. My brother had a birthmark on his buttocks when he was born that was what they called the Bering Strait birthmark. And people who come from that lineage have this birthmark on their butt. And he had it, I had it. All the Alaskans or the Inuit in Alaska, they didn't have all these fruits and vegetables. They ate blubber and they ate meat, and that's what our ancestors. How is it that we have to have all these carbs now? These pasta primavera that you like so much. I don't get it. And he goes, "Oh no, but you don't understand. Your cholesterol is going to go sky high, and you're going to have a heart attack." No, I haven't. So I'm sticking I'm sticking to my meat.
I always come back to the thing as well when we talk about like if you eat all this meat, you're gonna get your cholesterol and you're gonna die and all this kind of thing. I always come back to whether your thing is evolution or your thing is intelligent design, whatever it happens to be. Are we really the only species that was designed to poison ourselves? Like that, if we eat a regular diet that's around us, like buffalo or whatever it happens to be, our body's just going to turn around and go, you know what? I don't like this. I'm going to poison you with cholesterol. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And there are other animals, like cats. If you try to turn a cat into a vegetarian, they'll go blind. They go blind. People have done that because they're so humanitarian. They can't deal with the idea that their animal is eating meat. So they try to turn their cat into a vegetarian, and you know what happens? They go blind. And you know what? We do too. That's the glaucoma and the macular degeneration. We're like, what do they say? The poison is in the dosage. You're eating it, and it doesn't poison you right away. It's like it's over time. It takes time before it does sort of poison you or debilitate you or damage you. And I don't feel that way. I mean, like the thing that caught my attention when I was watching that movie, The Magic Pill, and it was the first thing that they said, other animals know what they need to eat, and they never have to go on a diet. They're not overweight. They're just naturally in the wild, and they eat exactly the amount that they need. And the animals that they've domesticated, those are the only animals that overeat, right? And I was thinking about that because if you're really plugged in, if you're really tuned in to your level of satiation and you eat something and you're full, you feel it immediately. And if you're eating something that you feel kind of compulsive about, it's like you can't stop eating it. You keep eating those Cheetos and those potato chips and the pasta with the butter and all that stuff because you almost can't stop eating it. And when I eat meat, if if I serve myself 8 ounces and I'm done at six, I'm full. I'll eat that tomorrow. Just leave it there. If I get hungry, I'll munch on it later. I don't have to eat the whole thing, but give me a bag of potato chips and it'll be down to the crumbs in the bottom of the bag. Um, so I'd rather not have it at all. And since I'm doing carnivore and keto, I don't have that compulsion anymore because I've lost that sense of craving. I don't crave that food anymore. And they go, "Oh, you'll never be able to eat chocolate again or mashed potatoes and gravy or whatever that is." But it's kind of like alcohol. Yeah, I'm not an alcoholic. It's not something that I don't feel compelled to have to drink any more beer or any whiskey or anything else like that because it's not something that I crave. Never did. But I
Yeah.
think that other people do.
Yeah, it's kind of like you'll never be able to eat chocolate again. It's kind of like saying to an alcoholic, "Well, you'll never be able to drink beer again." And it's like, "Well, yeah, that's the point."
Uh,
It's like I have to stay away from it because it's not good for my body.
yeah.
And that's exactly why I'm staying away from chocolate as well. And I don't plan to have it again, or mashed potatoes or whatever. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the arguments that they have always kind of fall a little bit flat or
Well, they feel
defy
deprived.
logic. Yeah,
They
yeah,
feel deprived, and it's sort of like I don't want to embrace a way of life where I have to deprive myself of anything. I want everything, and and I guess that's kind of the lesson and the thing that my grandmother was trying to say to me. You cannot have more than one slice of bread per day without damaging your health. She was telling me that bread was bad for me. Of course, I didn't realize that I just basically need to give all of it up. That bread is just not good for me, or any of these other things. They're not good for me. So there's no point in crying over it. I have a pretty good life with what I have. I'm living here in Southern California, and I really love it here. I'm living in a little piece of paradise. you know. Okay. He's putting up a painting of someone else's art, which is cool. Yeah, I live in one of the most beautiful places, and I love the weather and the people. And, I live across from a lovely garden, and I paint, and I'm an artist. And yeah, I have a good life. So just because I can't eat bread doesn't mean I'm deprived or
Mm,
sugar.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get past that. If you have an addiction to sugar or bread or any of those things, going keto may be the answer for you until you can get past those cravings and you can get your body past that. Um, and it may be that that's what you have to do. Um, but I am now at a point where majority of what I have to eat is just it has to be meat, and I kind of make an exception for maybe fermented vegetables, pickles, and cabbage and things like that because sometimes I feel like I need to clean my palate. Going into ketosis, that's the one thing. When you're in ketosis and you have that horrible taste in your mouth and you have, bad breath and that kind of taste, that's the only negative, I think. Uh, you know, but everything else is fine.
Mm, nice. So Margaret, you mentioned that you do art. Do you have an Instagram or a YouTube channel where people could maybe
Um,
reach out to you or have a look at the art?
Sure, they can go to my YouTube channel. It's at TRAVEISA Blue BLUE, and that's my channel on YouTube. I don't have that much stuff up because most of my YouTubing is about art and not really about carnivore or keto. Um, my husband says I become obsessed because I love keto and I love carnivore and I love what you guys are doing. And when you said help, I said, well, I got to help a little bit. I know that it's not it's not for everybody, perhaps, but it is for me, and it has definitely saved my health. And it has saved a number of my friends who are also doing it, losing weight. Their skin has cleared up. I have a few other friends who have cancer who I'm also trying to, offer some videos. I send them videos. It's better than preaching because I don't want people to close down. I don't want them to close down and say, "Oh, I'm not listening to you anymore. You've become crazy." And I know that that happens. But I'm also concerned with their lives. I want to see them make it. I want to see them survive. So I want to be part of their team in terms of supporting them and seeing them make it through these difficulties. That's
Nice.
that's all I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us, Margaret. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for providing this platform for a lot of us because there are other people and everybody has a little different part of it. But let me say this, if there's anything, if you could check out the Savory Institute, because there's other places now that are opening up to that and understanding a little more about cattle ranching by using the method of moving the cattle around from place to place and breaking up the
Mm.
fields so that the land can regenerate more. Um, I think that all of us would benefit from that methodology.
Will do.